Good morning. Ooh, what was that? Well, anyway, how are y'all doing? Cool, sweet. So, you've got Sherry holding it down on the lyrics today, so give it up for her. Also, her shirt is awesome if you have a chance to see it up close at some point today. If you do Sunday Fun Day after church, we have Charles on the drums. That is his name for sure. We have Noel on bass guitar. We've got Peter on electric guitar. That's what it is. Pedro in Spanish for sure. I don't know what my name in Spanish is. I think it's still the same. Anyway, I'm Gianna. I'm going to be singing and playing acoustic guitar. All the songs are familiar today. So if you would please, you can stand and sing along, dance along. If you're lost and you're lonely, go and figure out why. Take a trip to your dark side. Go on and have a good cry. 'Cause we're all lonely. We're all lonely together. I want to see your sadness. I want to share your sin. I want to be your blood, and I want to be let in. Won't you just, don't we all just want to be together? What's heavy behind? If your face is down, take a look around. Do your fingers move? Do your lungs inflate? Are you tired? Are you weary of the hidden hate you've been holding? Have you never had it? Are you feeling sad? Could you do the bad thing? Leave what's heavy. What's heavy behind? Leave what's heavy. The only way to lose that fearful feeling, replace it with love that's healing. Are you feeling fearful, brother? Are you feeling fearful, sister? Leave what's heavy. Heavy, It's hard to see it, I still believe it. You have always lived deep inside my heart. I need to know you, but swim the unknown seas and follow me into the mystery. My shallow grave, I prayed to find the strength to crawl, the strength to climb up to the surface, untie my hands. Sorrow had a purpose, but it's time to stand. 'Cause I just wanna be loved by you. Resist the need to hear you say, whatever you do, I will be there. Oh, I will follow you anywhere into the mystery. Love is not a cage, love is not a path. Love's a steadying, waiting for the storm to pass. You love me then, when you needed me. Will you still, when it's not so easy? 'Cause I just wanna be loved by you. Resist the need to hear you say it. Whatever you do, I will be there. Oh, I will follow you anywhere we are. All God's children we are. Flesh and blood we are. Pulled from the wreckage we are. Not alone. Into the mystery. Cause I just wanna be loved by you. Just wanna be loved by you. 'Cause I just wanna be loved by you. Can I resist the need to hear you say it? Whatever you do, I will be there. Oh, I will follow you into the mystery. Into the mystery. So this next song is called Everything I Need. It's by Dana Diaz. And I love it a lot. I'm the one who chose it. Also for today I chose it as well. And I just like it. I like the repetition. I like how simple it is. And I like that it's just reminding, at least me when I listen to it, that like God is always like looking in like my direction, like all of our direction, and like that God is all that I need. So if I have God, I have a lot. I'm not alone. You tell me I'm not alone. You tell me I'm not alone. You tell me I'm not alone. Tell me to lift my head. You tell me to lift my head. You tell me to lift my head. You tell me to lift my head. And then I'll see you there looking my way, shining bright like the sun. I'll see you there looking my way, shining bright like the sun. I'll see you there looking my way, shining bright like the sun. You're all I need. You're all I need. You are everything 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 I need. I see you there looking my way, shining bright like the sun. I see you there looking my way, shining bright like the sun. I see you there looking my way, shining bright like the sun. You're all I need, all I need. You are everything 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 I You take me down to the river till I'm satisfied. You take me down to the river. Woo! You give me joy for the morning till I'm filled inside. You give me joy for my morning. You take me down to the river till I'm satisfied. You take me down to the river. You give me joy for my morning till I'm filled inside. You give me joy for my morning, 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 joy for my morning. You are everything I need. You are everything everything I need. You are everything I need. You are everything I need. Sing with me. Everything I need. You are everything I need. You are everything I need. You are everything I need.
Good morning, everybody. How's it going? Yeah. You're everything I need. I just want you to know that. Well, I mean, maybe you guys with God. Is that cool? Is that okay? Can I let you in on a little secret? So in practice today, we had a hard time like getting that song to like really fly. And like, holy crap, it just sounded amazing. So band, thank you for being awesome and like clearly having fun up here while you're playing. Did anybody like grow up in church where you couldn't have fun in church? Yeah, right? But we can have fun here. And that's everything I need. My name's Jarrett. Hope you're doing awesome today. Right about now is the time that we kick out our kids between 5 and 8, which I think is just Owen today, right? Oh, okay. Oh, he'll meet you over there probably. Everybody do me a favor. Look over this way and make Allison feel awkward. I just want to point out how awesome she is. She's our kids pastor. Yeah. You may or may not know she hangs out with either the older kids or the younger kids each week. She designs like curriculum. Today she was telling me how they're going to learn how to light things on fire. And then she changed her mind. So they're talking about the burning bush, but they're not actually going to light anything on fire. At least that's what she promised me. We'll see. Anyways, hope you're doing awesome today. If it's your first time here or if you've been here a million times, the best way to connect with us is just to take your phone out and go to diff.church. You don't have to put the .com at the end, just diff.church. We'd love to hear some feedback from you. Maybe there's a song you haven't heard in a while that you want to hear again. Maybe you've got something going on in your life you'd like some prayer about, maybe something you're struggling with, or something that you're really excited about. We would love to just kind of celebrate with you. Today, after the service, we're going to hang out at Love Food Central, which is right over there. So we're going to break down for a few minutes, and if you want to come hang out and kick it with the cool kids, we'll meet you at Love Food Central. And only other announcement I've got for you is Pride. Happy Pride, everybody. This is a big month for us. We like to celebrate and do a lot of cool stuff. We are going to be walking in the parade, and we're going to be doing the street festival. The street festival, I believe, is a little more family-friendly, but, you do you. If you want to bring the full family out for the parade, it's fine. You can sign up to volunteer and be a part of either of those things at diff.church. So just click on events. We would love to have you. I think there's a rumor that we might be getting more shirts in. Yeah? We're going to get some more shirts in. They're the list one, if you guys have seen that one before. And we'll probably wear that in March, so it's a good excuse to come out and get a cool free shirt. Cool? You guys are awesome. Thanks for being here. Let's clap it up for Hannah.
Good morning. We are getting shirts. They will be delivered to my house in 10 business days-ish. This is what I was informed via email. I was also informed that the image file that we sent was not acceptable to them, so they redrew it by hand and put it in vector format, and I was like, that seems complicated. Could have just asked for what you needed. And they were like, no charge. We love you guys. And I was like, okay, I deeply appreciate that, but also, you could have just asked. We would have, okay. Sign up to walk in the parade because I will be there and I'm cool. Also, we have 8 people signed up so far. We can have up to 50, so you can sign up. And the street festival is from noon to 5 on Central, which is this street. So you don't even have to walk far. I make this advertising announcement every year. If you want to go to the street festival, it is in your best interest to come to church because you will get parking. If you try to come to the street festival and you have not come to church, you will not get parking. They will charge you $1 billion or you will just go in circles forever. I'm very out of breath. Sorry. It's because of no reason. I'm standing here, so therefore I'm out of breath. Last week we talked about the plagues. So fun. Way to wrap up May, and we ended with plague number 10, where every firstborn in the Egyptian households dies. So it was lovely. And Pharaoh is finally beaten and lets the Israelites go free. Yay! Better? Try to stop hitting the microphone. The Israelites skedaddle. They're like, yay, so excited. Side note, before we get to the part where they try to cross the sea, it says in chapter 13 of Exodus, verse 17 through 18, that God led them by a roundabout way rather than by the way of the Philistines. Just a tidbit for you. The Philistines are like a seafaring enemy that the Israelites are in constant fights with later in the Old Testament. And this is one of those statements that, to me, places the entire story into the mythicized history category, because the Philistines did not actually exist at the time that this would have taken place. There was no way of the Philistines because there were no Philistines. That is something that happened much later, and the writer of Exodus, who's compiling all these stories at a later time, had no Google, and he wasn't able to be like, at what point did Philistines come upon the scene in the ancient Near East? He was like, well, they're here, so they must have always been here. And this is a passage I like to bring up when I'm feeling like arguing with people who have the word inerrant on their website. How could the Israelites go by way of the Philistines when there was no Philistines? You just file that for later, for Thanksgiving, with your conservative family. Don't. I'm kidding. Everyone knows I do not support arguing with your family. Don't waste your breath. Anyways, the Israelites are leaving Egypt, and they are guided by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. It's God's presence. Hangs out with them for like the next 40 years. Very convenient, if you ask me. One pillar, two modes, nighttime and daytime. It leads them right up to the sea, which they cannot decide how to get across. And then Pharaoh changes his mind and sends the whole Egyptian army after them to bring them back. And the Israelites panic. And Exodus 14, 8 through 14 can basically be summed up in one sentence, which is the Israelites were terrified and gave Moses an earful. And Moses, I need to know if you have heard this verse, because Moses responds with a verse that has been commemorated on Christian bookstore plaques and keychains. And it's verse 14, and it says, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Have you heard this verse? Yes. Okay. I love that this is used so often in Christianese because it's so wildly off course. Moses is not being peaceful. Okay? Moses is not reassuring the Israelites that they just need to let it go and seek their inner calm and set out their beach chairs and just watch what God will do for them. And they just need to maintain a calm state of mind. No. Moses is telling them to shut up. Zip it. Stop complaining. He's angry. And honestly, not weird that he's angry. The Israelites did just watch God dismantle systematically every part of Egyptian power and society. And they're panicking now because they still don't believe that God will save them from Pharaoh. So basically, we should replace all of those plaques and keychains with shut up already. And that would be a more accurate translation. And if you're keeping track, for today, this is point number 2 in Hannah Ruins Exodus. The Philistines did not exist, and Moses said, shut up already. Which honestly, maybe some of us need to hear. That's a different sermon. Okay, where are the Israelites trapped? Does anyone know what body of water they are up against? The Red Sea, kind of. This is point number 3 in Hannah Ruins Exodus. We don't actually have any idea what body of water they are up against or cross in the Exodus story, and I don't just mean we don't have any historical evidence. We don't. But we also don't have any evidence from the Bible itself. It doesn't say. The Red Sea is not a place. The Hebrew words that we're reading as Red Sea actually means sea of reeds, like the reeds that Moses was made a basket and floated down the river in. For some unknown reason, Greek translators about a couple hundred years before Jesus read reed as red and gave us the wrong name forever. But calling it the Sea of Reeds is actually not much help either, because it could refer to any marshy body of water in or around Egypt, and biblical scholars have tried for centuries to identify which one they might be talking about with zero luck. So we never get to know, and we have no idea what it was. So you can just file that for Thanksgiving as well, that the Red Sea is not a place. We do need to remember about the core concept of the Exodus, like why crossing the Red Sea might be important, or the Sea of Reeds, is that this story of the Israelites being set free from slavery is directly tied to creation and flood stories in Genesis. It's a reenactment of God saving, recreating, right? So in Exodus 14, the sea is driven back by this strong wind, and they walk through on dry land. The word for wind is the same word in Hebrew that's used for the Spirit of God hovering over the face of the waters before creation. On day 2 of creation, God splits the waters, right? And on day 3 of creation, dry land is revealed, so it's very similar. And then in a replay of the flood story, the Israelites get through, but the Egyptians get smushed by a lot of water. And the Israelites, after being told to shut up, walk through on dry land. They make it to the other side, apparently just far enough ahead of Pharaoh's army to watch them all drown, which is a lovely children's story, and why we should teach our children all the parts of the Bible when they're tiny. Miriam, who's Moses' sister, presumably the one who put him in a basket all those years ago, and all the people of Israel gathered together to sing a song. And the song is in Exodus chapter 15, and it's like a poetic account of what happened. A couple of verses I'll just read to you. It says, "I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. Horse and rider he is thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength, my might has become my salvation. This is my God, and I will praise him. My father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a warrior, Yahweh is his name." It goes on. It's a very beautiful piece of poetry. I would highly recommend you read it, because it is one of Israel's earliest surviving memories. And by that I mean it's widely considered to be one of the oldest pieces of writing in the entire Bible. So if you're reading a prose narrative of what happened in Exodus, or you're reading this poetry, the poetry is older. And the Israelites get out. This horrible existence that they have lived in Egypt as slaves is ended. The army that was chasing them has been defeated. They can finally go live their best life in the desert and go to Mount Sinai, which was their whole point all along, so they can worship Yahweh on the mountain where God lives. Except the Israelites left Egypt carrying all sorts of things that are very useful for camping in the desert, like fancy clothing and gold and silver and jewelry. And nobody seems to have thought about basic survival like food or water. So they run out of food and water pretty immediately. So in 3 chapters, Exodus 15 through 17, there's 3 times where water is the main subject of discussion. They first go 3 days without any water, and then they finally find some at a place called Marah. But it's undrinkable, so they complain. Which, I mean, understandable. No water's pretty rough. God tells Moses to throw a piece of wood in the water, and then it becomes drinkable, and they're happy. And then they leave Marah, and they find an oasis that has plenty of water, and they stay there for a month. Happy times. But then they leave, and they mysteriously set up camp at another place called Rephidim, and once again, this place has no water. I'm like, why would you camp there? Maybe keep walking. I don't know. So they complain to Moses, who in turn complains to God, and God's like, just hit a rock with your stick, and then water will come out. And sandwiched between all of these water stories is the never-ending narrative of the Israelites complaining. They complain about water. They complain that they have nothing to eat. They complain about Moses. They complain that it would be better to die in Egypt as a slave than to starve out in the desert. They have no food. They're cranky, and they're melting down constantly. And God promises to feed them with bread from heaven, which is nice, right? Confusing a little bit, because according to chapter 16, verse 4, the bread is supposed to like rain down from the sky daily. But according to verse 13, it's actually some sort of frosty dew substance on the ground. We don't know what it was, whether it rained or appeared, and we don't even know what it was, and neither do the Israelites. They called it manna, which literally means, what is it? And I just like to imagine all of the Israelite toddlers being like, not eating that. Just like Nova would if I presented her. I gave her something the other day, and it was like, It was a treat. I'm not trying to feed her a green bean, okay? I gave her like some kind of cookie, and she was like, what is it? And I was like, it's good, I promise. And she was like, and she like smelled it. And I was like, it has chocolate in it. And then she ate it. So they're supposed to gather this weird food substance, what they need for each day. And on the 6th day, they can get what they need for 2 days. And they're supposed to be resting on the Sabbath and not picking up frost bread off the ground. And there's also an odd little story about the Israelites complaining very bitterly that they have no meat. And God promises to send them so much quail that it will come out of their noses. And the sight of quail will make them sick. And we don't have time to just talk for 20 minutes about that story, but it is one of the more hilarious ones in Exodus to me. It also adds such a personification to the Israelites' view of God. Like, does that not sound like an irritated parent on a road trip with several thousand whining children? If you don't quit complaining, I will give you something to complain about. I heard that growing up. Or in the words of Moses, shut up already. Which is, of course, not how we view God now, but it does make the entire thing a little more personable, and it makes me smile. I love that the Israelites were like, God is mad at us, and he's going to give us too many quails. So nobody thought about food or water. Everyone is complaining. And then suddenly, to make things more interesting, the Israelites find themselves attacked by the Amalekites. And in this story, some of you have heard this if you grew up evangelical, I want to say the Bible Belt evangelicals, because this is a story about Moses who holds his hands up. And as long as he keeps his hands up, the Israelites are winning. He has to hold the staff in the air. But Moses is tired. And so therefore he puts his arms down. And the Israelites are losing. And Moses is like, oh no. And he puts his hands back up. But he can't keep it up because he is but an old, sad man. And so his brother Aaron and some guy named Hur have him sit on a rock, and then they hold his arms up. And as long as his arms are up, the Israelites win, and they defeat the Amalekites, and everything is wonderful. And Moses is praised for saying that the Amalekites will be blotted out from under the sun, and no one will ever remember them again. I have a few questions, as per usual. So first of all, I would like to know how the Israelites got their weapons, because they were a group of enslaved people. And we know they left with some gold and silver, but it is beyond the realm of common sense to think that the Egyptians were like, oh, you're leaving? You should take our swords. Also, maybe they stripped them off of the soldiers who washed up on the shore. That might make sense, except they probably wouldn't have really known how to use them. And also, there's no evidence for that in the Bible either. Another explanation to me is that a later reality is poking its nose into Exodus again. So centuries after these events, the Amalekites are, like the Philistines, a big enemy that Israel has to face. Specifically, Saul and David have to fight the Amalekites. So in a nice bit of anti-Amalekite propaganda, we have them attacking this tiny baby nation right at the beginning of its life. How could they? And Moses is just celebrated for saying that they will just be wiped from the face of the earth and no one will ever remember them again. And my other question is, why did they not just take Moses out? If you were the Amalekites and you were like, we're losing. And then they're like, oh no, we're winning. That guy's arms are down. We should maybe get a sniper? No answer for this is all given either in the Bible. Really, I think a large purpose of this story is to introduce us to Joshua, who is Moses' general, and he will be leading the campaign into Canaan later. And this will all be chronicled in the book of Joshua. He will eventually become Moses' successor. So all of this nonsense happens. And finally, the Israelites make it to Sinai, 3 months after they leave Egypt. They make it to the mountain where Yahweh lives. And then, everyone knows, Moses goes up the mountain and gets the 10 Commandments and brings them down, and they all live happily ever after, right? No. First of all, we don't actually know where Moses is. If you read the story, it's very confusing. I highly recommend you do it and try and plot it out, because in chapter 19, he goes up in verse 3, down in verse 14, up in verse 20, down again in verse 25, plus verse 7 kind of implies that he's going down. And verses 9 through 10 have him in the clouds, and then God gives him the 10 commandments, and then in the next verse, he's on the ground talking to people. Which really just serves to illustrate the point that these are multiple traditions, multiple stories of what happened being edited together at a later date. But God calls Moses up the mountain, gives him these commandments, right? And the commandments are the essence of the relationship with Israel. What are they supposed to be doing? They're supposed to be a priestly nation, a priestly kingdom, and a holy nation. To be holy means to be set apart, sectioned off, so to speak. So if they are obedient to God, Israel as a nation will be set apart to be the mediator between God and other kingdoms of the world. They're not supposed to be some kind of elite God club. They're not supposed to be isolated from the world. They are supposed to be separated for the sole purpose of helping other people know about God. Now, granted, as the Old Testament progresses, it seems like this goal is not met ever, or hardly at all, but it is the goal nonetheless. And after a wild trip through the desert, I feel like this is a good place to land, because for them, this is the core essence of what it means to be an Israelite. Also, therefore, what it means to be a person of faith in Jesus today. To be set apart, to be holy was their whole purpose. That is the whole purpose for Christians also. But it seems like in church history, the Israelites and Christians have really just equated that command to be holy into more like holier than thou. And this has caused all kinds of ridiculous problems. The purpose of being holy is to be like God. The purpose of being like God is to show other people in real time what God is actually like, so that other people who don't know God have a real life example of what God is like, how God interacts in the world, how God acts, what God cares about. It's not to be an elite country club of faith people. But that's what Israelites turned it into multiple times in the Bible, and it's what Christians have turned it into. I was going to say multiple times, but like most of the time in church history. And I think, y'all can come back up here. I think this is actually why there's so much fighting in the church, like inside and around church culture, and so many denominational splits, and so much arguing, and so much nasty rhetoric and name calling and condemning people to hell over differences in belief. It's because we're not actually committed to showing what God is like. We are just showing what we are like as humans. One of the most fundamental parts of Jesus coming as a human being to earth was not to show us how to be spiritual. Even though that's mostly all we give Jesus credit for. Like, Jesus came to save our souls. First of all, what does that even mean? Second of all, Jesus didn't come to show you how to be spiritual. Jesus came to show you how to be a human. Because it is not in our spirituality that we are so wounded and so broken and so full of rage, right? Our spirits seem to maintain a connection to God that is beyond all of our own willpower and decision to sever. And it pops up at any point. It can pop up even when we don't want it to. You'd be like, I do not believe in any of this crap. And then randomly on a Tuesday, you'll watch a sunset and be like, I feel something. Because your spirit cries out for God all the time, no matter what. It's in our humanness that we're so desperate, and we're so afraid, and we're so angry. It's in our humanness that we're fighting each other and excluding each other and creating artificial boundaries to keep each other out, just far enough apart so we don't have to examine how similar we actually are on the inside. How the same forces that drive us drive everyone we are attempting to exclude. The job or to use Christian terms, the purpose and calling of Christians is not to separate ourselves from other people. It's to separate ourselves with the help of the Spirit, our mother, from all the reactions and the triggers and the prejudices that we have in our own hearts, so that we can interact with people with completely open arms, just like Jesus did. That was actually the whole point of Exodus. What is God like? I will show you. And now that I've shown you, go show that to other people. And they were like, seems questionable. What if, and hear me out, instead of that, we just fight everyone all the time? And God's like, no, stop it. I'm going to send you the law, and I'll send you the prophets, and we'll do all the whole exile thing, and you'll come back, and then I'm going to send you Jesus, because you're not getting the message. Like, words clearly are not enough. So here's a person. Here's a physical representation of what I am like. Everyone gets it now, right? And then we're like, what if, and hear me out, instead of that, we just murder him? It seems like a good plan to me. And God is like, oh my God. Can God say, oh my God? God, you people. What's the whole point of Exodus and the whole point of faith now is to show people what God is like. And we know what God is like. Anytime there's a question, if you're like, is that God? And you make that face, it's not, right? Because God is, what are the fruits of the Spirit? We already describe God. We're like, oh, God is love. God is, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the fruit of the Spirit of God is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control, long-suffering. And we're like, no. What if, and hear me out, what if the fruit of the Spirit is rage and exclusion and anxiety and bitterness and doubt and fear and worrying all the time about what other people think and worrying about my own safety all the time? And we just have a whole long list. And God is like, I gave you the thing which started the 10 Commandments, and now it's a whole book, and you guys have it. You have it. And you have a person. It's the point of faith, is to be like God so that other people can see what God is actually like. And then all we have to do actually is get a little less intense about who's right and who's wrong, and a little more intense about actually loving people. And I feel like this message works all the time, but especially for pride, right? All we have to do is get a little less intense about what we think and a little more intense about actually loving people. So a good test, if you're like, am I loving someone? Are you being patient? Are you being kind? Are you being gentle? Are you being faithful to them? Are you practicing self-control and not dumping your stuff on them? Because that's what God is like, and that's what God does for us. And I think it's the most beautiful thing in the world that we get to do that to other people. We have 2 more songs. If you want to stand and sing with us, and then I will come back and give you a benediction.
Something is different about the way you talk to me. Used to my anxiety, overriding everything. Something is happening. I've never known this kind of peace, 'cause I'd forgotten how to breathe. Now I am remembering It's like dreaming for the first time. Suddenly, the mountains don't seem too high. I see my future in your eyes. What a miracle of the mind. It's like I'm safe for the first time. I can be myself, don't have to hide. All the shame is gone, all the lies. What a miracle of the mind. Something is healing. I'm beginning to believe I am what you think of me. Oh, this changes everything. It's like dreaming for the first time. Suddenly, the mountains don't seem too high. I see my future in your eyes. What a miracle of the mind. It's like I'm safe for the first time. I can be myself, don't have to hide. All the shame is gone, all the lies. What a miracle of the mind. What a miracle of the mind. What a miracle of the mind. Precious, oh, your thoughts are endless, full of love and kindness. Oh, your thoughts are so good for me, Jesus. What a conversation. Hear the heart of heaven. I can hear it oh so clearly. It's like dreaming for the first time. Suddenly, the mountains don't seem too high. I see my future in your eyes. What a miracle of the mind. Is like I'm safe for the first time. I can be myself, don't have to hide. All the shame is gone, all the lies. What a miracle of the mind. 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 future in your eyes. What a miracle. It's like I'm safe for the first time. I can be myself, don't have to hide. All the shame is gone, all the lies. What a miracle of the mind. How about that guitar solo? I wanted to scream, but I was like, I have to conserve my voice. So this is the last song. It's called Confident. And I don't know if you've ever felt like this as like a Christian or somebody who believes in God. But like sometimes the thing that you want to happen hasn't happened yet and you're praying for it. And it sometimes for me can feel a little bit delusional to live like it's already gonna happen. But I like this song because it reminds me that heaven is surrounding me and that it's real. It's okay to live in that space. There's work that we still have to do on our end, but ultimately there's only so much you can do, and then the rest you just have to give it up to God. You're always moving in the unseen. The breath you exhale, sustaining me. Before I call, you know my need. You're always going before me. I'm confident your faithfulness will see me through. My soul can rest, my righteousness is found in you. With every moment left, in every borrowed breath, let this be true. And all my heart, all my life belongs to you. Your laughter scatters my enemies. You give me joy for my morning. You lift my head so I can see. All of heaven surrounding me. I'm confident your faithfulness will see me through. My soul can rest, my righteousness is found in you. With every moment left, and every borrowed breath, let this be true. That all my heart for all my life belongs to you. I won't win this battle with the strength of my own hand. You're the mountain mover, and only you can. I won't build my life on sinking sand. You're my hope forever, the rock where I stand. I won't win this battle with the strength of my own hand. You're the mountain mover, and only you can. I won't build my life on sinking sand. You're my hope forever, the rock where I stand. The rock where I stand. Yeah. All of the ground is sinking sand. All of the ground is sinking sand. I'm confident your faithfulness will see me through. My soul can rest, my righteousness is found in you. With every moment left and every borrowed breath, let this be true. That all my heart for all my life belongs to you. That all my heart for all my life belongs to you. That all my heart for all my life belongs to you. That all my heart for all my life belongs to you. You give me joy for my morning, joy for my morning, joy for my morning, joy for my morning, joy for my morning. You are everything I need. 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 You are that all my heart for all my life belongs to you.
Thanks for being here. You can be seated. Come eat some food with us at Love Food Central. It's 1 block away. They have plant foods. Don't be scared now. Sign up for Pride Festival and the parade. And if you like what we're doing and you want to help us keep doing it, you can donate online or in the box in the back. And we will be here next week and every Sunday until as long as we possibly can. Except at some point I will have to miss a Sunday. Specifically in September. I will be missing a few Sundays. But we will not be missing. Different Church will still be here. Let's pray. The poet Ada Limon wrote, "Look, we are not unspectacular things. We've come this far, survived this much. What would happen if we decided to survive more, to love harder? Faithful God, bless the story of our survival from what we have made it through already to the effort it takes to move through every day with love. All these false narratives in our souls that tell us we must fight each other. undo them. Weave into us instead your story of liberation. Go forth this week, loved ones, attuned to the God that lives inside of you and the love that flows out from you, that we may all be pillars of cloud to shade others from the sun and pillars of fire to light the way in the dark. Amen.